Hello, welcome to another video on endocrinology. About 99% of the circulating thyroid hormone is bound either to thyroid-binding globulin or albumin or transthyretin. Only the free thyroid hormones are biologically active, and changes in binding protein levels can affect the total circulating pool of the thyroid hormones. But if the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis is intact, free hormone levels remain unchanged and the total levels may alter. High levels of estrogen during pregnancy or due to intake of oral contraceptive pills or during hormone replacement therapy all increase the levels of thyroid-binding globulin by decreasing its catabolism and by increasing its synthesis in the liver. As the additional thyroid-binding globulin binds to more thyroid hormone, the thyroid hormone production also increases to maintain a euthyroid state. Diagnostic approach towards hyperthyroidism. When there is a clinical suspicion of hyperthyroidism due to the signs and symptoms, as we discussed a little while ago, free levels of T3, T4 and TSH are to be measured. If the levels of free T3 and T4 are high with a low level of TSH, a diagnosis of primary hyperthyroidism is made. If this is accompanied by signs of Graves' disease like goiter or ophthalmopathy, a diagnosis of Graves' disease is made. Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease that may consist of hyperthyroidism, goiter, orbitopathy, and occasionally a dermopathy referred to as pretibial myxedema. It is caused by thyroid-stimulating hormone receptor antibodies, otherwise abbreviated as TRAB, which stimulates thyroid hormone synthesis and secretion, as well as a thyroid gland growth, resulting in a diffuse goiter. The presence of TRAB in serum and orbitopathy on clinical examination distinguish the disorder from other causes of hyperthyroidism. Patients present with features of hyperthyroidism like heat intolerance, weight loss, sweating, diarrhea, hair loss or thinning of the hair, so on and so forth. Cardiovascular complications like palpitations or tachycardia associated with systolic hypertension and a wide pulse pressure can also be seen. There will be an increased contractility of the heart and thereby an increased cardiac output along with a decreased systemic vascular resistance. Patients can also have atrial fibrillation. All of these features are due to increased sensitivity of the catecholamines due to thyroid hormones. Angina may also occur due to coronary vasospasm, especially in young female patients. Thyrotoxicosis may also cause new-onset heart failure or decompensation of a pre-existing heart failure. Ophthalmic complications like lid lag, diplopia, proptosis are also present in patients with severe Graves' disease. Thyroid hormones increase sensitivity to catecholamines, and thyrotoxicosis of any etiology may cause a lid lag and retraction due to sympathetic activation and contraction of the superior tarsal muscle. But true exophthalmos occurs only with Graves' disease. Certain skin-related complications like onycholysis, which is breakdown of the nails, clubbing, hyperpigmentation, and other features like hypercalcemia, bone loss, menstrual irregularities, tremors, hyperreflexia, proximal muscle weakness, and pretibial myxedema can all be seen in patients with Graves' disease due to excessive production of the thyroid hormones. Now let's talk about one of the most important complications of Graves' disease, which is Graves' ophthalmopathy. Graves' ophthalmopathy is a result of the effects of activated T cells and thyrotropin receptor antibodies, the TRAPs, on the TSH receptors, which are located on the retroorbital fibroblasts and adipocytes. True exophthalmos with impaired extraocular motion is seen only in Graves' disease, and it is due to T cell activation and stimulation of orbital fibroblasts and adipocytes by TRAB, resulting in orbital tissue expansion and lymphocytic infiltration. Older patients, females, and patients who are smokers are at risk of developing Graves' ophthalmopathy who have hyperthyroidism. Ophthalmopathy in Graves' disease is typically diagnosed at the same time as hyperthyroidism, but may occur before or after the onset of hyperthyroidism in some cases. The three major treatment options for Graves' disease include radioactive iodine ablation therapy, antithyroid drug therapy, and thyroidectomy. All the three modalities are equally efficacious, but surgery and radioactive iodine ablation can permanently treat hyperthyroidism. Titers of TRAP increase significantly following radioactive iodine therapy, and hence it can cause worsening of ophthalmopathy. For this reason, administration of glucocorticoids in patients who are undergoing radioactive iodine uptake of therapy is often advised to prevent complications in patients with mild ophthalmopathy. Thyroidectomy is preferred over radioactive iodine therapy for those with moderate to severe ophthalmopathy. If the levels of the TSH are low and free levels of T3 and T4 are high with no signs of Graves' disease, the patient should be followed up with a radioactive iodine uptake scan. If there is a diffuse high uptake of radioactive iodine by the gland, a diagnosis of Graves' disease is made, and if it is more nodular in pattern, a diagnosis of toxic adenoma, if a single nodule, or a diagnosis of multinodular goiter if there are multiple nodules seen on radioactive iodine uptake scan is made. Toxic adenoma and toxic multinodular goiter are the most common causes of hyperthyroidism after Graves' disease and are most often caused by activating mutations within the TSH receptor. These are characterized by TSH-independent thyroid hormone secretion and focal follicular hyperplasia in toxic adenoma and multifocal follicular hyperplasia in multinodular goiter. The initial treatment of both toxic adenoma and multinodular goiter includes a beta blocker to alleviate the symptoms of hypothyroidism and a thionamide, which are the antithyroid drugs, to decrease the thyroid hormone synthesis and secretion. However, definitive management is only with surgical resection of the gland or by radioactive iodine ablation. On the other hand, if there is a low radioactive iodine uptake, the next step is to measure the levels of thyroglobulin. If the thyroglobulin levels are high, a diagnosis of thyroiditis or iodine excess is made. Thyrotoxicosis with low radioactive iodine uptake is seen with painless thyroiditis, otherwise termed as silent thyroiditis. It is also seen with subacute decurvain thyroiditis, amiodarone-induced thyroiditis, surreptitious intake of levothyroxine, and struma ovarii, where there is ectopic thyroid tissue present in mature ovarian teratomas. In certain cases, like contrast administration during CT scan, which are rich in iodine, and in certain cases with extensive thyroid cancer metastasis.